Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And you know, one thing that I learnt as a young kid is if there was a dangerous snake nearby, the easiest way to deal with it was you use a stick and chase it into a crack. Okay, so it's hiding in this little crack. You quickly go and boil up some water and you just pour that water in that crack, and guess what? That boiling water does its job, and that snake comes out and it just writhes around, and it's biting itself. It's just attacking itself, and that while it's actually completely doing that, perfect time to get a spade and clean up the situation. What are we talking about here? Well, on the 2020 channel last night, I put up a video about, is it time now, South Africa? And I'll tell you why. Because with the latest budget speech, you now have a situation where the Cosatu is warning of a declaration of war in South Africa. Now, the declaration of war is obviously against the ANC government. So let's unpack this a bit, shall we? South Africa labour unions have rejected a government proposal to review planned increases for civil purposes days before they were due to be implemented. The Public Service Association, which represents 230,000 government workers, all BEE, said the state on Tuesday asked to review the last leg of a 3-year pay agreement because it could not afford it. You know why it could not afford it? Because you guys are so friggin' stupid. You don't realize the L factor, missing in action. You know, there's so many examples of this. I'm not even going to go there. But Moodys, in the next couple of weeks, are going to look at the rand and decide whether it should be put to junk status. I can tell you right now that I've been following the rand today, and it's going down like a stone in water. It's now 15.5 rand to the US dollar. And you know why that's happening? That's happening because of exactly what we're talking about here. It's a complete chaos going on within the ANC government. That's what's actually going on. I'm going to put a link to the US dollar rand below this video so you guys can see for yourself how the rand is sinking like a stone right now as we speak. And believe me, the coronavirus is not going to help, because now apparently it's in South Africa. Okay, let's continue with this declaration of war by Cosatu. Finance Minister Tito Mboweni is due to announce the annual budget on Wednesday. Now, this article was dated the 26th of February, so this was just the day before he actually made the announcement. The Public Service Association said the timing of the proposal a few days before the adjustments were due to be implemented speaks of a government that regards public servants as an easy target to resolve its financial woes. No. Its financial woes are because of you guys and black economic empowerment. You voted the ANC government in, they put in these racist employment policies. You plant crap seed, and guess what you get? You get crap. And that's what's happened in South Africa. It's simples. It's so simples. It's crazy. But again, L factor missing in action. I'm sorry, guys. That's the way it is. Getting back to the story. The Central Executive Committee of the Congress of South African Trade Unions, the country's biggest labour federation, said if the proposal made its way into the budget speech, it would be seen, here comes the statement, This is the Central Executive Committee of the Congress of South African Trade Unions, Cosatu. This is the ANC's partner in government. This is what they say. Said if the proposal made its way into the budget speech, it would be seen as a declaration of war. Get that? That's how crazy the situation in South Africa. That's how totally out of control the situation is. This ANC government is a joke. They don't know what they're doing. Their supporters are revolting against them. That the whole country needs the adults in the room to take a stand and say to the kids, get off the stage, you've had your chance, and you totally effed up. It's that simple. Now, of course, Tito Mboweni went on with his suggestion in the budget speech, and this is what happened. Finance Minister Tito Mboweni's plan to cut government wages bill by 160 billion rand over the next 3 years is sending the right message to rating agencies. But workers are not going to take it lying down, with a fight back already underway. This is why I'm saying, guys, this coronavirus stuff that's happening, I think God is actually working with us. I mean, this is a huge weapon, if you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, government is seeking to make the cuts by backtracking on a 3-year pay deal agreed with civil servants in 2018 and cutting personnel spending by 37.8 billion in 2020-2021, with a further 122 billion rand in wage cuts in the 2 years that follow, according to Mboweni's 2020 budget. However, this stance has been taken as a direct attack on government workers by unions, while analysts, economists, and other stakeholders have cast doubt on government's ability to follow through. According to Intellidex analyst Peter Attard-Montalto, Mboweni's comments were a clear line in the sand drawn between government and the public sector unions. Now, what you've got here, guys, is a complete fracturing of the ANC base. And you know who's waiting in the wings? Julius Malema and the economic freedom fighters. But I think that the arrival of a certain coronavirus is going to save South Africa's day, when the adults in the room take back control of a portion of the country that used to be a first world country. I really believe that's what's going to happen. I think that God has actually come into the room and said, okay, enough's enough. Let's intercede. Let's get things going again in South Africa, because there's absolutely no question. Look at the timing. Something very, very biblical happening here. Anyway, let's continue. The analyst, this is Peter Attard-Montalto, said, pushback from Cosatu is going to be very strong, and we fully expect a large-scale public sector strike at some point this year. We see the strike as inevitable, but also positive, a sign of necessary pain. The strike action won't be immediate, he said, as it takes time to get approvals and initiate the process for one, but will likely happen during the current fiscal year, with a possible second strike in the first quarter of 2021, as the next 3-year wage agreement is negotiated. Cosatu was outraged in its response to the budget, threatening to collapse the public service sector if the government deviates from its current wage negotiation agreements. Of course, these guys, they haven't got a clue. You know the IQ factor? I'm just not going to go there, but I think you know what I'm talking about. In terms of the agreement, public sector salaries are due to increase up to 7% or CPI plus 1% on the 1st of April 2020. However, government wants this to be reviewed. Wage negotiations for the next 3 years are still to take place. The union said, this is Cosatu, this feeble and inflammatory budget is a clear signal to workers that the battle lines are drawn and the attempt to shift the burden of the crisis to them is in full swing. Well, guys, if you hadn't elected such a corrupt and self-serving ANC government and their cadres and their friends and their families, none of this would be taking place. And of course, you then have to link in black economic empowerment, where people are put in places who have absolutely no understanding of the job they're doing, but they certainly know how to clean out the till. Yeah, that's an old term, cleaning out the till. It means stealing. It means corruption. It means setting up little shelf companies and BEE. And it's all about me. The ANC government are all about me. They're not about you. Not about the people in the township. That's a load of BS. Okay? The adults in the room understand this. But it's about time the kids in the room who are missing out on the barbecue realize what's going on. Let's keep on going. Workers will not play victims, and the government can rest assured that they will demand and not beg for what is due to them. Cosatu remains battle ready to push back against this public service cuts agenda. Economists, analysts, and even ratings agencies filch expressed a degree of surprise around the announcement of a government wage cuts in the budget speech, but all followed up with the same doubts of whether government will be able to effect the changes. Now, we are in such a interesting but dangerous time in South Africa. I want everybody in the world to know that. This is a very, very interesting time. And I'm just hoping the adults in the room are ready to take control. Let's continue. This was also felt in the markets, which saw a sharp spike in Rand's strength on the back of the announcement before falling back as a reality of the government's relationship with labour unions set in. Bianca Botes, Treasury partner at Peregrine Treasury Solutions, said, while government is planning to slash the wage bill by 156 billion rand over the next 3 years, which will go a long way to ensure fiscal sustainability, the actual ability to effect this remains to be seen. Fitch noted Cosatu's response to the announcement, warning investors that the promised wage cuts may simply not materialize. It said, Labour representatives are showing little sign that they would accept lower wage growth to support fiscal consolidation. Citadel chief economist Martin Ackerman was more positive on the outlook. He said, Cosatu's reaction to the budget speech suggests that labour unions will not make it easy for government to action the necessary cost-cutting and successfully negotiate wage agreements. However, government successfully saw off South African Airways in its strike in November last year, setting a new foundation for union relations and potentially undermining union power. Atat Montalto also highlighted this as a massive risk for National Treasury and President Cyril Ramaphosa's government, as a failure to follow through on this bold promise would leave both politically vulnerable. The analyst said, this move can alter the political landscape. Whilst the president would have had to sign off on this move, the risk is that he caves, especially with the ANC National General Council at the end of July. It will be a real test of the ANC National Executive. The analyst said the ANC has a habit of agreeing to things that are not on the table and then disagreeing with them when they are. National Treasury has made the move with the support of Cabinet, and if President Ramaphosa caves to the unions, it would break trust between Treasury and the presidency and between government and the markets, he said. According to Atat Montalto, The financial reality of the situation was that the Treasury has historically overpromised on wage cuts, and with no detail on starting points for negotiations, a rough estimate is that government may be able to cut 65 billion rand of the promised 160 billion rand, but even that is in doubt. He said our rough prior is to expect nothing from the coming financial year, and then half of what is penciled in for the outer 2 years. This is a rough estimate, but shows the risks here. Okay, look, I'm just going to tell you that right now, the rand is sitting at 15 rand 50 per dollar. It was about 14 rand 20 per dollar before the budget speech. In other words, it's lost about 10% of its value since Tito Mboweni gave his budget speech. Now, remember, in the background, you got Moodys. And if they push the rand to junk, the South African government, the ANC, this corrupt government, have got nowhere to go. But that's not even the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is the coronavirus. The reports I have is that it's now in South Africa, and it's going to devastate the country because the townships and the taxi system and so many other things are just a melting pot for this virus. It's going to make hay while the sun shines. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to put a link to the live US dollar rand so you can see for yourself how it's sinking like a stone. And, you know, it's just quite extraordinary. I'm just watching it here. It's just going down, down, down. It's quite clear the Moodys are going to push the rand to junk. Please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video. Please share this video. And above all, please stay safe. Bye for now.